It doesn't seem like it wants to do the it's not going to let me take it live to YouTube. Or maybe it is. I can't really tell. So we'll just go with what we got. Looks like it's streaming. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So welcome to another Thursday. How is everyone's week going before we get started? Me too. Me too. Long week. Okay. I guess we will dive in. Megan, do you have anything else you want to add?
I don't believe. Not yet, anyway.
Cool. Well, we will get started. So most of you know us. We are coaching businesses for success with I'm Sherry and then Megan. So we are your hosts today. You can find us on YouTube or the podcast. You can find the podcast everywhere, wherever you listen to podcasts. And so these episodes get uploaded every week. Just a little bit about what to expect on this call. Megan and I give you all of the behind the scenes to our own six-figure bookkeeping businesses, what we're doing, what's working, what's not. I do believe if all you did was attend this call every week in conjunction with your bookkeeping education, you could very well achieve your goals. Q&A happens at the end of the call. So if you have questions, quoting questions, things like that, feel free to bring those at the very end. If you're listening on Facebook, YouTube, or any of the other places that we are live, feel free to join us through the link. If you need that, just send us a message. We'll get it to you. Lonnie shared, so thankful to have the support of all the coaches in CV for us. Running a bookkeeping business isn't easy with so many different situations that can arise that I haven't run into before. Whether it's a payroll issue, an e-commerce client with software I'm not familiar with, or I just need help troubleshooting, there's sure to be a coach who can help. Additional support with marketing and mindset, co-working calls, and flexible times to schedule one-to-one help are just a few reasons how the group has helped me continue to run a successful bookkeeping business. So we love seeing those positive feedback, even negative feedback when we get that, and we improve on those. If you're looking for our upcoming events, if you're looking for these lives or upcoming webinars, this is a QR code to get those free links so that they're on your calendar and you don't miss them. Today, we have a couple of special guests who are going to dive into marketing, all things marketing. So these are two of the bookkeepers in the Bookkeeper Blueprint, and they have been running their, I'll let them introduce themselves too, but they are actively growing their bookkeeping business and have been around for quite a bit. So Ashley and Becky. Anyone else I'm missing, let me know. And then we're gonna make this and Becky, I have little ones kind of running around. They're doing rest time, so
Okay.
don't feel that self-conscious. This is I believe the business exists for the family, not the other way around. So sometimes it's impossible, just don't stress. Like obviously all of those things, but don't overly stress or kill yourself or give yourself an ulcer for any of those who have kids running around in the background. So we will do our best to mitigate sound on our end as we were able. But we just wanted to dive into marketing and the role of bookkeepers. I know both of you went through a program put out by Cameron Montgomery. Hey, we're not perfect people. By Cameron Montgomery and Apex Methods around beginner organic marketing, where he primarily uses Facebook. And we have seen a lot of people have success with that. So we wanted to dive in, like, what was your experience with it? Would you recommend that to another bookkeeper? What would you tell another bookkeeper? So I'm just going to throw some questions at you. A bookkeeper who's just starting but is really lost. They're like, I've heard Facebook is good. I've heard LinkedIn is good. What about this thing called email marketing? Like, what would you tell someone? So the whole point of this call is, would you recommend his program? And then what would you tell a bookkeeper looking at those, and tell us how long you've had your businesses too, but looking at those that have come before, how do you actually do this thing? That is the objective today. So feel free to, there's no script here, so feel free to be candid and whatnot. Becky, you're unmuted. Do you want to go first?
Sure. So I'm Becky Woodford. I have had my bookkeeping business, I guess technically for 3 years, but I've really only been working with my own clients for 2 years now. I have, I believe, 20 clients right now. And marketing has definitely been something I have struggled with, and I think that I've figured out that it's because of my mindset, really. So I've been trying to really work a lot on my mindset around it because it's hard for me personally to put myself out there. But Cameron's program was something that I tried early on in my business. I think Cameron was great to work with, very supportive. His program has both coursework, and he works, or he or one of his team members, I think, works with you one-on-one to really make sure you learn and understand his method. His he When I was using his program, I haven't looked at his program in a while. I have not been using it actively lately. When I was using it, they very strongly felt like you needed to choose a niche. Um, and it was a lot of using Facebook, friending people on Facebook, and direct messaging people that did accept friend requests. I really struggled with the niche part of the program. I still struggle choosing a niche. I currently work with a lot of local business. All of my clients are local, and they're a variety of different types of businesses. And I remember when I first started talking with Cameron in the program, I told him that I really liked being able to work with local businesses because I liked supporting them. I liked knowing that we had just our area in common, and that a lot of people, when they reached out to me, were, I'm coming to you because we want to work with someone local. So like, we're very supportive in this area of, business owners are supportive of other business owners. And I tried to convey that that's kind of how I wanted to work. And he sort of steered me away from that. So I tried picking a niche. I was trying to target chiropractors, and it really actually did work. I struck up a lot of conversations, sales calls, but I think I struggled at that time because it was still pretty early on in my business, and I didn't have a lot of clients at that point. The imposter syndrome set in where, these chiropractors are asking me, like, how many chiropractors do you work with? And at that point, I only was working with, I think, 2. So I think what he teaches will work if you are confident in picking a niche. If you do not have trouble with like the direct messaging, using Messenger on Facebook, and you feel confident in starting up those conversations with people who have no idea who you are. And yeah, there were some conversations that didn't go well. People would get kind of angry that you were bothering them. I think you just kind of have to have that mindset of not everybody's going to be open to talking with you, and that's okay. But to put that mindset forward that there are some people out there that will and do need your help. And just continue forward to focus on those people. So I do also know that lately I have seen Cameron posting about that he's added to his program to help the people that do want to work with local businesses, which I do want to go back to his course and kind of look to see what he's added, because now must be there is more people like me that really wanted to focus in that way. So I can't comment on what he's added for that, but I do want to look into it. So all in all, I think Cameron was great. I think if you're comfortable with his direct messaging method, then this for sure can be very successful for people.
And I think you hit on a couple of really good points. So absolutely local, he is expanding into local because there's some things that you can do with Facebook that have come a long way. Megan and I have also both grown our businesses based on like really marketing to local. Even though like I still have businesses nationally, Megan, you still have businesses nationally. So
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily exclude that because someone will tag someone who's in another state or things like that. So absolutely. You also commented on so you mentioned imposter syndrome, but anytime you're trying to do something new and you're putting yourself out there in a way that you haven't put yourself out there before is always really hard. And the other thing you pointed out was when you have a niche, what do you answer to the first like 3-4 people who join you in that niche who are asking, well, how many more people do you have in this niche? And we just ran into that. We have a student that's going to join us in just a little bit, and she really had that issue. Like, not only did she not have other clients at that point, she was jumping straight into a niche. And it's kind of, you have to skirt around that question. You have to have a plan going into that. So for anyone choosing a niche, know that you should think through what to say, and we can definitely help you with that. We worked with her on what to say on some of those first sales calls, and now she has a network just in 4 months of being in that niche. Well, 5 now, but like 3 months in, it was almost no big deal, and it's becoming more of a no big deal the longer she has stayed in it. But yeah, your first few client sets are definitely a hurdle to overcome, and I think it's helpful to know those hurdles as you go, like what you're gonna be expecting. Ashley, do you want to tell us a little bit about you and all of those things?
Sure. So, I'm Ashley Fletcher. I own Fletcher Files Bookkeeping. Tomorrow is actually my 2-year anniversary of my business.
Congratulations.
Thanks. So I started Cameron's marketing, because I was really struggling to get going. I had signed up for a program that didn't end up going very well. And so then I was struggling to pay for that program and get clients and do all of those things. And so Cameron's marketing kind of pulled me out of the toilet. His course is super simple and easy to master. I also really struggled with the like imposter syndrome, but I just kind of did the fake it till you make it. And I have, through Cameron's marketing program, I have brought in $13,000 into my business just from his marketing strategies alone. And recently hired somebody who specializes in Cameron's marketing as a virtual assistant to continue doing that because I've been so successful. I really enjoyed the support that you got. I think it was like 6 or 8 weeks of one-to-one calls with Kyle. I don't think Kyle's with his business anymore, but he was working with Cameron at the time. And it was really good to just have your questions answered. And he gave you, my niche is contractors. So general and trade contractors. And he had good, like, shorter scripts for the busier tradesmen, which seemed to really help kind of get straight to the point. So those scripts were super helpful in the messaging. And then he's got a Facebook group that was always really supportive and helpful. And it wasn't just him or Kyle answering the questions. The community really helped answer the questions that you had, and I really appreciated that. Yeah, I think that's all I got.
Absolutely. I sometimes it's funny how sometimes we just need to push into, like you said, get you out of the toilet. I think the phrase you use. And I remember early on in my business, well, it was year 2. So I was like going on 2.5 years. I remember calling Megan and being like, I am just going backwards and no one's gonna sign over $100 a month. And I've come a long way since then. So like, I just felt like everything I was doing was going backwards, and I definitely had gotten in my head and just that conversation of like, no, that's just in your head, get back to it, with some more finesse than this. But, sometimes we just need a push to get back to it. And I did have to like rework on how I was presenting myself and how I was showing up for the business. We have a coaching, all of our coaches meet every month, and we happen to have that meeting today. And one of them mentioned that she feels like 80% of the business is marketing. She's like, it's not half and half. And I don't know if it's always 80%, but it's consistent where it takes up a good amount of time to stay on top of it. And one of the worst things that we see bookkeepers do is once they get busy, not having a plan to keep consistency. And so then you go through this like feast and famine cycle. So we're definitely trying to, or we do support bookkeepers in stopping that. And I think Cameron's program is a really great option for someone who's looking to kind of piece together their education.
Yeah, I've noticed, sorry. I've noticed when I'm not consistent and then I lose a client or two, it takes so much time and so much more momentum to get a client back. And that's the cycle I'm in right now. Is I was like, I'm good. I don't need to focus on that. And then I lost 3 clients. And it was like, oh, okay. And so that's why I made the decision to hire somebody. Just got to spend money to make money sometimes. And that's where I'm at, where I was like, well, if I can't be consistent on my own, then I need somebody to do it for me. And here we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Figuring out, and I think that's like when we're looking at workflows, I will tell people, even just on a piece of notebook paper, when you're first like trying to figure out which workflow is, what are the top 3 important things that you have to do? So marketing is 1. What does that entail? 2, you have to onboard the clients. You need your workflow for the business, and then you need a process for actually delivering the work. But I think we forget. So my workflow in the Bookkeeper Blueprint actually starts with marketing, because it's not just onboarding and offboarding. The clients are getting the deliverables out. I really think it starts with marketing, and having that built into the workflow allows you to hire better. Because like, for instance, I just hired a full-time person, and some of what she's going to eventually start doing in like the next couple of months, we'll be tracking those engagement letters and helping with the onboarding process of it. But you can kind of fit contractors or team members into those pieces as you go, as you figure out what their strengths are or what they like. Maybe you have someone that's really good with bookkeeping, they're also a really good people person. And so you can bring them into some of the people aspect without taking them completely away from what they're doing. So I love that you just hired. I think that's amazing. So we have one more student that's going to join, or bookkeeper that's going to join to kind of share her experience. But like, for the bookkeeper who is stuck, just whether they really haven't started their business, or they're 3 years in business and they have gotten stuck. You know, they've been beat up because they lost 5 clients or whatever in a short period of time, which can happen for a lot of reasons. You can have clients shut down doors. You can have clients who just want someone in-house. You can have clients who want to merge some admin services with bookkeeping. So lots of reasons to lose clients. But what would you offer that encouragement to the bookkeeper who's listening and maybe has been listening for years? Because now we've been at this for 2 years. How do you get, is there anything that they can do to get themselves out of the toilet? Since I'm going to stick with that phrase.
I think that the biggest thing for me to get myself out of the toilet, let's just continue with that too. Is consistency in your marketing, consistently showing up for your business, whether that's again like marketing, showing up for your clients, putting business attire on when you sit down at your computer so that you are consistently focused. I'm at my computer, I am in my work clothes, I am dedicating myself to just be there, be consistent for your business is really the way that you kind of yank the shit out of the toilet.
Becky, what would you add, if anything?
No, I agree, because so for the first, I would say 3 months of this year, I was overwhelmed with just year-end work, and I was like, I can't be advertising and trying to put out there that I need new clients because I can't help them right now. Which didn't feel good because now that's passed and now I'm ready for someone, new clients, and I lagged in my marketing for too long. So I agree. Consistency is key. And, there's going to be pains in scaling. So like you're going to get to a point where maybe you do feel overwhelmed by yourself or, trying to do all the work by yourself. But then that's when you have to try to be open-minded about possibly hiring some help, whether it's just a contractor or an admin to help with the tasks that you don't want to deal with any longer. But yeah, consistency is key. And also sometimes it just can seem like disappointing if you do continually to put yourself out there and nothing is happening. But I think just sticking with it and just staying in the mind frame of there are people out there that do need your help. There might be some that don't want it, and that's okay, but there are people that do need it. So stay in the service mindset and focus on that instead of just, focusing on the panic of I need more income. I think when you're focusing on that, kind of maybe block stuff from coming to you. I'm not really sure how that all works in the universe or whatever, but I think if you just stay in the right mindset of helping others, it just kind of naturally comes. So.
Yeah, Megan and I were just talking. So I heard consistency and then don't be selfish. But I mean, when you start the business, sometimes it's really easy to be inconsistent because it's not a habit that you've built yet. And then it's really easy to show up kind of self-centered because you're trying to figure out how to post. And so you start posting, in essence, I need a client, like who need, we were talking about a book yesterday on one of our calls. Me and Megan were, and the book is called Go Giver. And it talks about, it really frames like, as you build a legacy, as you build a business, how are you giving? And it gives some really tangible framework to that. And I just thought it was a really good like refresher on how giving makes such an impact to your business. And when you show up to put content out on Facebook, when you show up to message people on Facebook or wherever it is that you're doing your content, when we're giving information, when we're helping someone else grow their business, we are laying ourselves down. I don't think you should do so without an income, but like in doing so, like we become the trusted expert in our local area. So I think that's one reason local worked really well for me, was because it expanded. It was like expanding foam of just becoming that trusted expert. And it was really easy as someone, you know, is talking to a neighbor. Oh, hey, I'm having this issue with taxes. Taxes always starts the conversation, whether you prepare taxes or not. Disclaimer, I do not think you have to prepare taxes to have a thriving bookkeeping business. But taxes almost always starts the conversation. And when you get to talk to people, it's, you start to find out how messy their money is. And that leads into bookkeeping. So I'm like, hey, I will help solve, like, you have an IRS letter, let me read it. And I can get you to the right tax professional, right? Like, do you actually need an amendment? Are they telling you everything's fine? They just corrected it for you. Like I've seen 2 different tax letters. I had 2 different people contact me this year with tax letters saying that they had messed up taxes for 2022 or 2021. One had filed a W-2 in the wrong year. So like they had gotten it late. They filed it in the like following year versus 2021. They filed it in 2022. The other one completely missed a W-2, right? I'll take those conversations because it helps me know, like, what's going on. Do they have a business? Are they organized? And it just kind of builds up that jar of goodwill that we talked about last week. Anna joined, so I'm gonna add her to the little round table here. If I can figure out how again. There we go. No, oh, maybe I'm add spotlight. There we go. We have a bigger round table now. Good morning, Anna. So we were just talking, the whole point of today's call is really how, like, how has Cameron helped you grow your business? Did you choose a niche? I happen to know that you did choose a niche. Do you think that worked really well for you? And what advice would you give a new bookkeeper? Obviously we're not sharing Cameron's, like, the details of Cameron's program, but like, would you say that's the solution? Would you say they just need to show up and be consistent, stuff like that?
Hi, everyone. I started the beginner organic marketing program with Cameron last year.
In like
Right.
November, right? Like
Huh?
at the end, like in November, right?
November, at the end of the November, I think it was like the 4th week of November. And I started it right around the time I was starting my business. And I was a little hesitant in the beginning to make such a big investment because I didn't have any clients. I didn't have any revenue at all. So I was a little hesitant to do it. But then I ended up making the decision, and I would say it was one of the best decisions I made. As a new bookkeeper, it really helped me to niche down and just specialize in marketing for certain industry or a specific client. I think it makes it easier, and it just simplifies your marketing overall, knowing who you're targeting with your marketing posts and just knowing who to reach out to. And also I would say just being consistent, but I think overall what helped me the most was having a plan, which is what he gives you during the program. Having a consistent plan you can do every single day for your business. And that really worked for me overall. I think I as a bookkeeper and as a business owner, I don't know much about marketing. I didn't even think I had to do marketing when I started. But then when I thought of starting my business, I only thought, oh, I like bookkeeping, I'm gonna do bookkeeping, and that's about it. But then when I actually started it, I thought, okay, wait, this requires marketing too, and I have no experience in marketing at all. I don't know anything. I never even thought that I had to do marketing. And when and that's why having Cameron help me and coach me, he's very personalized. It helped a lot because I had no clue where to begin, and he just gave me a simple daily plan and to follow, like a workflow to follow on a daily basis. And right now I have I think I have 8 clients. And it hasn't even been that long. I haven't, you just have to be consistent. You have to water the seeds. And it works. It really works. It pays off.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you said you had a plan, because what we see sometimes with bookkeepers is it's this plan and this plan, and this webinar gave you another plan, and it's really hard to choose between them. But sometimes you kind of have to say, LinkedIn can sit on the shelf, YouTube can sit on the shelf, or whatever it is, email marketing, all of those things. And I'm just going to execute this one because my goal is this. And knowing your goal, Megan talks about knowing your why. And you have a very clear why. You want XYZ target, like income, by a certain date. And you have a why behind that, right? Like, so you've been super consistent, which I have loved seeing, or just in executing the plan. We've seen that with other bookkeepers as well, just staying consistent and executing the plan. And then if you do fall off the bandwagon because you just like onboarded a large client or something like that, the goal is to get back on the bandwagon as soon as possible, and then figure out how to not do that again. Like, how do we bring in support or things like that? And Ashley was talking about that a little bit. So you've been in business. Did you start your business in November, or was it October, something like that?
Yeah, October. I started. So it's been a little while. I've been learning a lot, but
It's like 6 months,
yeah,
7 months, and
Yeah.
you've got 8 clients.
yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Lonnie, I also see you joined. I don't know if you want to unmute and tell us a little bit about how long you've been a bookkeeper, what you've tried. Would you recommend Cameron's program to another bookkeeper? And then ultimately what we're trying to, the objective is, how do we help a bookkeeper who is kind of stuck on how to keep the ball moving?
Yeah, sure. So I've been a bookkeeper for, I guess it will be 3 years in September. I went through Cameron's program starting in, I want to say it was September or October of last year. Up until that point, I had kind of resisted niching down, and I had picked up a staging client as my second client. And then from there, my name, got referred to a few other stagers. So when I got to middle of last year, I felt like I was kind of ready to say, okay, like I want to focus more on staging. And, Cameron had definitely been on my radar, and I knew what his whole approach was. So I think I made the decision. I think he had a Labor Day sale, and that's when I figured, all right, now's the right time. And it, his program definitely helped me. His whole approach with just walking you through everything and giving you the tools and the sales call script and the lead script, all that was, I couldn't have done it without all of that, even though I understood what his approach was. And then I think it was like every 3 weeks we would have our call, like our coaching call, and just having him kind of go over where my roadblocks were and where I was feeling stuck made a big difference. And I ended up picking up 3 new clients at the beginning of 2024. And then one more since February, and then one more is in the works now. So I still struggle, I think, with my sales calls. Sometimes I feel like I'm good, and then other times I will go over his script just to make sure I, feel comfortable with what I'm going to say. And I will say too, when I got busy with like onboarding all these new clients beginning of the year, I definitely fell off of the marketing wagon, and I'm trying to get back on that now. And I do notice that my engagement kind of dropped since like not posting. So I need to probably either just outsource it once and for all, or until that happens, really just keep up with it. And I think I really get stuck with what do I post and overthinking it. And I just need to get over that and just post, that short blurb or just something so that my page isn't just going dark. But I don't know. Did I answer everything?
Yeah, absolutely. Ashley just hired someone to help her execute.
Yeah, I caught that.
Yeah. And then, so I think I've heard from all of you that consistency is hard with the marketing. Like it's a lot of work. It's something, and I think that echoes kind of what Bonnie said this morning, one of the coaches, that when we were talking as a team this morning, 80% she feels like is marketing, 20% is actually running the business. And that's how it feels like weighty wise sometimes, is just showing up every day or consistently. And sometimes, even though it takes five minutes to do something, like I think if we just start doing something for like 5 minutes, it's kind of like if you have to make the habit of brushing your teeth. Humor me for a second. I think I saw a study, it was probably a decade ago, it might have been when I was in college, like to just start like flossing. Like if you need to build the habit with flossing, go to the sink, you're only required to do one tooth. But since you've already done all the work, you're probably going to do more than one tooth, right? So like instead of just messaging one person, you're probably going to continue following the plan until you're like done, right? But the sheer act of doing something, even if like all you really can do is 5 minutes because now there's a toddler tantrum or a water break happens or whatever happens, you still did the 5 minutes and you still showed up. And I think that alone sometimes carries a lot of weight. One of the concerns with niching that we hear all the time is like Becky mentioned at the very beginning was, well, then what do you say when you don't have other people in that niche, right? So like you said, you already had a stager. And so you were at least able to say, well, I have at least one other stager. But Becky mentioned the question, well, how many other XYZ niche? Her niche was chiropractors when she started. Anna, Lonnie, what do you say to that? Without giving away like Cameron's course.
And I think really just familiarize yourself with their industry. I mean, staging, I feel like is a little bit easier because they really market a lot, especially on like Instagram. I mean, they do like a staging convention with awards. And so I feel like, depending on the industry, it could be easier, some easier than others. But I think the more you familiarize yourself with that industry and figure out those pain points, the easier it will be to market, whether you have 1 or 10.
Yeah, because you can start speaking their language.
Right.
And sometimes that's where like being in their Facebook groups, watching their YouTube videos, paying attention to their trade shows, paying attention to their vendors, or like how they payment process and things like that. You can kind of lead with that pain problem and say, I solved this problem by, and you almost don't get to that question of how many others because they're not going to think to ask it. Right. Other times it's smoothing it over with, we just recently stepped into this niche and we stepped into this niche because of our passion for solving this problem. And we saw that like we can meet it really well. And we do so so you just take it back to the solution, the value that you're bringing to that client. So Anna, would you agree, disagree? How have you, I know you ran into this recently with your niche.
Yeah, you were saying like knowing what to say in sales calls when you don't have many clients in that niche.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I've been honest, and I do emphasize my experience in bookkeeping in general. So I kind of tell them like, hey, I've worked with other industries. I recently started niching, and I just say why. I say I enjoy the industry. I enjoy the service-based industry, and I'm into fitness, wellness, because I'm in the gym industry. I target to gym owners. So I basically, I'm just honest, and I emphasize my experience in bookkeeping. And that has been what it's worked for me. So I don't, at the beginning I was nervous. I was like, okay, they're gonna say like, oh, this girl doesn't know about the industry. Why is she, you know? But I kind of overcame those thoughts and fears, and I just started being honest and emphasizing my assets instead. So what I do know, and it worked for me.
I applied that same principle. So when I was in corporate, changing jobs or whatnot to try to increase my income or things like that, I literally adopted the phrase. So if you've heard me on other calls, like pillars and stuff like that, where I like adopt phrases, one of the phrases is like, I don't nickel and dime, right? We don't nitpick. I didn't think about this when we were chatting a couple weeks ago, but honesty is the best policy. And so I have been like way over honest in interviews and have landed the job because of that honesty, where I'm just like, in all honesty, you know, and I just leave with that. I have done that on sales calls before. That's probably not the best tip, but sometimes that gets me out of like an awkward, like I put myself in this awkward position and now I have to get out of it. I'll use phrases like that where I can kind of tagline and cover, redirect the conversation.
Yeah, and I wanted to say that they still ask me. I get on sales calls and they still ask me, "Oh, how many gym owners do you serve?" Like they still ask me, "How many clients do you have in this industry?" And I remember saying like, "Oh, I only have one," or like, you know, I have two. But now I feel like it builds confidence just being honest. And now I say it confidently, like, "Oh, I at the beginning I would get nervous, but then I just became confident with just the truth, you know."
Yeah. Yeah. And it's easier because then you don't have to keep track of the lie when you start onboarding them and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot gym owners have this other thing that I need, right? Like, and then the other thing I will do, if maybe someone's not even in the niche and they're like, how many other people do you serve like me, is really what they're asking. How many people do you serve like me? Are you capable of serving me? Right? They care about one thing. They don't care about your business. They care about theirs. That's what they're trying to grow. And so sometimes I'll say, oh, I have another industry and we solve this, this, and this for them. And it seems really similar. Because sometimes I'm not marketing to them, but they'll get on a discovery call. And so I'll just point to like a similar industry that I have for them. Justin asked a good question. Hello, thanks for all of this great information. I have not started the bookkeeping program yet. Is there any marketing training? Is Cameron's program integrated or separate? So we do have a package where it is integrated and we actually enroll you into his program as well. We do have marketing in addition to that as well. Sorry, go for it, Megan.
No, that's all I was going to say. We also do have some marketing stuff in our program that can help you get started.
Yep, absolutely. And then, yeah, I think that answers your question. So,
Sherry, the other thing I was gonna say, with the oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. Oh, kind of like that question where how many other people do you serve in my niche? The way I've kind of worked around that is before I ask them if they have any questions, I kind of tell them about me, and I tell them, because I'm in the construction world, so I tell them that my very first client was in the construction industry, and that really gave me a passion for helping because X, Y, and Z. So if you kind of, before you let them ask you any questions, you just tell them why you're in that industry and what you want to do to better their industry, that kind of cuts their legs out from underneath them, because oh, you have a passion for, then they don't really care how many you have. It's very obvious that you have a passion for helping the construction industry, the gym industry, whatever it is.
I love that, because that also gives you the opportunity, especially if you do it at the beginning, like, let me tell you a little bit about myself. Sometimes there's an opportunity to do that because they get on and they're like, I don't know what to do, because they don't interview a lot of people because they're just getting started or something like that. Or they haven't had to look for a bookkeeper in 10 years and they don't know what to ask you. Sometimes just leading with here's why I'm here. And this is who I serve, can cut that off at the head. And I will do that. So when I was talking about doing that with like other industries, that's typically how I hit it off at the pass is, like I'll start asking questions about, oh, I have this industry similar, and just kind of take control over the conversation. So, yeah, absolutely. So it is 10:50 or 50 minutes after. If you guys have questions, let us know. I will open the floor up if you have questions for any of the panelists today, or if you have questions about your own bookkeeping business. Feel free to turn your camera on and unmute, and we will answer what we can.
Hey Sherry, it's Melissa. I had a question for you. I had spoken with Megan, and she told me that you could possibly help me with a quoting question.
So, yeah, absolutely. Quoting question.
Okay. Sorry, I'll make sure I could hear me before I continued.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. What's the question?
So she says she has 3 businesses, and they're all real estate involved. So the first one, she's a realtor, single owner, filing as S corp. She sells about 10 houses a year and has 1 monthly credit card payment and 1 checking and a low amount of transactions. And then the second one, she owns rental. She's a rental property. She owns about 6 rental properties. She says the property manager gives her a monthly report and 1 bank deposit with all of the rent, and then takes the expenses out from that prior to deposit. And then the third one, she flips houses and does the general contracting work for it. Has a few employees, flips 1 or 2 houses at a time. That one has a higher monthly transactions with daily trips to the store and Amazon, paying contractors and payroll. And she already has 3 QuickBooks accounts associated with each. So I just want to get an idea of what I should be quoting her for that.
So what do you charge like per transaction and per bank account?
What do I charge? I have no idea. I'm having a hard. I haven't I picked up 1 new client somewhat recently, like a few months ago, and I kind of just guessed like with everything, but I haven't really picked up a new client in a while, so I really honestly don't even know what to do. I kind of had to take a break from picking up new clients. I had one that was really big, and he was taking up all my time, and then I had a baby and I had to take off, and I lost him, so I'm almost kind of starting over here.
So I would recommend the quoting calculator for this, but and I would quote each business separately. So for the first business, I would look at the number of transactions per month, and on average $1.50 to $2 per transaction.
Okay.
I would start at 150 just to see what that looks like. And then sometimes I will do in my packages on for my business specifically, I do a package of 1 to 100 is going to get the same base price. But if you're wanting to check it, you have 3,000 transactions, that's obviously not one of my packages. So I'm going to do times 1.5 just to get me a ballpark of because it helps me gauge how long it's going to take me. So my 1.5 is kind of based on the time it takes me to code those transactions. So I would run the math at $1.50 per transaction, how many transactions, and then I would evaluate how many bank accounts, merchant accounts, loans, all of those things, and do a fixed price per loan, bank account, merchant account, all of those things, starting at $50. Probably 50 to 75 if you're looking for a range. And I would do that for each one. So the rentals, I have seen people do a base rate for rentals, $250 and then $25 per rental. I was talking to Megan. I don't know if I love that pricing structure because you said 1 deposit that you're breaking out.
Yeah.
So I might just charge her whatever your base rate is. So like $250 a month. If that, maybe it's lower than that. Cause like if it only takes you an hour a month to do, you might get away with 97. I really hate charging 97, but that would be because she's got the other businesses. I personally would be okay with 97 a month.
Okay.
But it's looking at it in the big picture of what you're doing for her and all of those things. I would apply the same principle to that. How many transactions, how many bank accounts, but I would have a minimum threshold, or tell her that you're discounting it. So if you were to do something like $47 because it's only going to take you 30 minutes, I can't believe I'm saying that on air, but if you did that, like it would be because the other two were making up, right? And then the house flipping, definitely. How many transactions per month? Are they class tracking those flips? They probably should be. I charge $297, so $300 for class tracking alone, up to a certain number of like classes. So up to 3, you could do $300 a month for that. On top of the quote for just the sheer transactions and the number of bank accounts.
So, like, what's the best way to? Because I feel like in the past when I've asked, like, how many transactions do you have, like, nobody really knows.
I get their QB file, and then there's an overview tab in QuickBooks Online. You just click that overview, scroll to the bottom, and it tells you. Outside of that, you could get their bank statements and count, or if they have a general ledger from another accounting software, you can count those as well.
So should I ask her if I can have access to her QuickBooks and kind of go from there?
I do 100% of the time. Yeah,
Okay.
or you can see how far behind they are, if they've got any other issues, like negative liability accounts, and all of that is right there in that client overview section.
Okay. All
Does
right.
that
Thank you.
give you some guidance there?
Yeah. I I'll see if she'll let me. I always feel like weird asking for it when they're not my clients yet, but I'll have to get past that.
Okay. I do it as a part of my Calendly. So when they book a discovery call, I now just say, hey, go ahead and give me, I want QuickBooks access within 24 hours of the call.
She messaged me because she's local to me, and we're part of like a community group together. So I guess she had seen me like posting before.
Cool.
So she just kind of like Facebook messaged me and was like, "Hey, I saw you bookkeeping business. I'm looking for somebody." So that's kind of how
absolutely.
that came about.
So you can simply say, hey, I'm working on your quote. Do you mind giving me QuickBooks accountant access? And then you can copy paste the instructions from QuickBooks Online to her. And then you can tell her, as soon as I have this, I'll send you a quote over within 48 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, Melissa, if you say it confidently about asking for that, they usually don't even question it. Like if you feel nervous about asking it, they can kind of sense that. I don't ask it on my Calendly, but it has gotten to be one of those things like I'm majority of the time not even going to give a quote if I don't have access to it. Because you never know what's actually in there. Like 'cause sometimes they forget, oh, I have that I'm using PayPal or whatever the case is. So I usually always do the same thing, tell them like, hey, I need access to your QuickBooks to be able to give you a quote. And I just let them know like, so I can make sure I give you a fair and accurate quote.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Because
my
it helps
biggest
you
issue
and
is literally anything that has to do with asking for something confidently. So
the more you do it and stuff, the better for sure.
All right, I'm gonna message her right now. All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, that takes us to time. I don't see any other questions. You're welcome, Belita. I hope that's helpful. Absolutely. Now's a great time to start marketing too. You said I need to start marketing. I feel like people come out of the woodworks at the very beginning of tax season. Then it's a little scattered. But then I feel like there's another push between April and May that I have always experienced because I kind of hide during tax season. I try not to onboard new clients during tax season, but that's just me. But I do see an increase around April and May, and I am seeing that right now where people are like, okay, I've got an extension, I have time, and now their headspace is clear enough that they can start getting that bookkeeping back together, and you'll have until like September 15th and October 15th, depending on how they're filing. So now is a great time to start marketing. It's always a great time to market, but sometimes are a little hotter than others. Exactly what Ashley said. She said, or their accountant told them they are a disaster and need a bookkeeper. We see that all the time. So the tax accountant's like, I'm filing you an extension, go find someone. Absolutely, Ashley. So now is a great time to pick up those people, and you have 4 months to get their book. Like, it's not as rushed as, oh, I need it in 2 weeks, right?
Yep.
So it's not the pressure isn't felt to the same degree that you have to get this done really quickly. We want to get it done. We want to tackle it, but we have time for when the problems arise during the cleanup. So now is my favorite time to market. Anyway, well, I hope to see you guys next week. Thank you, Roundtable, for joining this call. We very much appreciate it. And it was
thank
super
y'all.
fun with you guys.
Dustin, I'm going to send you a Facebook message to finish answering the question that you asked. I just want to let you know, kind of be on the lookout for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Cool. Okay. See you guys next week.
Bye.